Welcome to The Underknown. I am your host, Jan Perillo, and on this episode, I will be speaking with Meg Elsier, an indie artist out of Nashville, Tennessee. We talk about a lot. We cover a lot of ground on this episode. Everything from what it's like to be mansplained to, and I talk about what it's like to mansplain. We talk about vulnerability and trust, which I think is going to relate to a lot of different artists. I think a lot of people have had this experience where you record something maybe on your iPhone or something like that, and you take it to either your band or a producer or what have you, and you play it for the first time for them. It's a little bit of a nerve-wracking experience. Maybe you opened up quite a bit with the lyrics. Maybe you're singing and you're not quite sure how it sounds. Whatever it might be, you're being judged for that time, or at least you feel like you are. And so we talk about how that process of learning to trust people, the people around you, and the kind of trust it takes is really instrumental to creating good music. She released an album called Spit Take in 2024, and the variety of songs on there is pretty impressive. They range from aggressive to sensitive. And we talk about how that isn't just a collection of songs. It's really an authentic representation of her as an artist. On that album, she uses quite a bit of fuzz. And we also talk about how she gets that sound. So if you're a guitar player, you're going to want to stick around and listen to that explanation. And we talk about the song that's playing in the background, that's starting to play in the background. That's called If Shit Fuck. And we're going to lead into the interview with that, and we'll see you with Meg on the other side.
Oh God, I feel a little bit tired, feel a little bit hungry, feel a little bit wired, kinda feel like I'm moving, but I know that I'm stuck and I can't see the top, so I don't wanna climb up. So save me, but fuck you, you're a liar. You build me up like cathedrals and dress me up like a martyr. You made me feel like a woman. I thought it suited me well, so I gave everything up, including being myself. I used to think, oh, if she got ordinary, I knew.
Meg, it's great to meet you. Thanks for doing the show today. As you know, we were just listening to If Shit Fuck, which is a song off your latest album, Spit Take, which is a great album. And that song is really a highlight for me.
Thanks.
But welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, I found you randomly, as the way that I kind of find a lot of my artists, but that song is the first one that hooked me. That was the first thing that I listened to that really kind of just stuck in my ear, as, especially the beginning. I love the way that it kind of just starts with almost nothing and then kind of just kicks in almost like a lyric in it. It's so immediate that it's just cool. I mean, tell me about that production of that song and how that song came about and how you wrote it, everything.
Yeah, I also, when you were saying that, I'm now realizing when the guitars and when the song gets heavier when it first starts, it's feel a little bit hungry, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense for me. The the hanger being okay, tracks, absolutely tracks. That song though, kind of like I was saying, that song and Is Not Real were the demos that I heard more than guitar and harmonies, because when I was making demos before, and honestly for the deluxe, we're releasing some. And that's the majority of these demos where you can hear the crafting of the writing more, versus If Shit Fuck weirdly came out so quickly and means a lot. But that song was really a sonic that shifted how I work, because I had I could hear a lot more than just the vocals. I was like, oh, I'm going to throw me playing a drum groove on it because I can hit at least this. And I have a MIDI keyboard, and it just was I felt compelled to build it out when I don't feel compelled all the time to do that.
Interesting.
So I feel that was it kind of makes sense as to why it also was the first release too that I did. It just was there was a lot of confidence with it and confidence building because of that song, I think.
So I got the impression that when you work with your producer, Ryan, and I'm forgetting his last name, it's on the page somewhere here, but when you work with Ryan, he I was under the impression that you gave him something that was really pretty raw at first, and you guys developed it together, which I think is the case for some of those songs. But it sounds like with If Shit Fuck, you really developed a lot of those ideas before even giving it to him, and you did that on your demo. Your demo is a little more like structured or developed or
yeah.
finished.
And it's definitely not. It's not what we have at all. But
right,
all of the it's like the things that were really important to me mapping out were very vital to like what Ryan and I did. And that's the thing that I've noticed with like, not production, but kind of like the ideas that I like are the ones that I'm like, this needs to stay when I bring a song to Ryan. If I'm like, we can play with this, but this I want, are really small, minor details that like half of them were mistakes when I first was like, I don't know the song very well, but I want to chart it. And then I very much like love those little moments. I'm like trying to think of an example. Like there's a lot in newer songs that like aren't recorded, but I do know we had some of those moments, like a lot of them in Spit Take, that were like the little mistakes that make it.
So Spit Take's your first album, right? And it's really like, so to release an album, I think these days is also a little bit unusual. I mean, everybody releases EPs, and I know I think you released some singles leading up to the album release, but there's a lot of EPs out there. And the idea of releasing an album which has some cohesion to it is kind of a big step. I mean, it's a lot harder, obviously, than releasing 5 songs. I mean, just the sheer nature of releasing, I think there's 12. It's, it's a big deal. So what made you want to release a whole album instead of kind of starting with, maybe baby steps? I mean, I know these aren't your first songs, but
a lot of it was literally Ryan. We were like, yeah, this is an album. We're like, it doesn't, because I'm so like what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be. And there are certain things that are made to be 5-song EPs. Like they're perfectly, that's the format that it should be in. And just when we were going through all the songs, we're like, it's not broken up into 2, like 5 and 5. It's not like, it just was made to be an album.
That's really interesting because you have such different feels on some of these songs too. Like, we talk about It's Not Real, If Shit Fuck, Old News, even parts of Takeout and for Lyle in San Francisco are really a little bit heavier, hard, like a little harder. You have these like nice fuzz guitars that I want to talk about in the background. Like you have these great effects on them. And then you have these stripped back, even some just piano and just some really like mellow with like your sort of like angelic voice over it, which is really like, so the mood really shifts throughout the record, which is really neat. And so what made you think that all these were a cohesive unit?
I think like because it wasn't like that, like when you explaining the like how some of the songs are so different kind of like sonically than others. This album was an introduction to me as an artist, and that's who I am as a person in general, let alone an artist. I can't lock down a song. I can't lock down a genre very well. I can't lock down, not that I want to either, but
yeah,
it just is so natural to me to want to blend things that, because it was so, each song had its own life. I was like, oh, this makes complete sense. Like my playlist on Spotify, you cannot show a psychiatrist or a therapist that playlist. They'll be like, something's up with that. But it's all parts of me. I'm really sensitive and I'm really aggressive. And what better way to like introduce or a more stable foundation to be like, y'all, this is very honest and genuine. So if you don't like it, but if you do, I'm like, hell yeah. Like, you know me, like you've met, like, and that I eat it up. Like that was really cool.
See, to me, it's not like it's just like, I don't feel like it's a bunch of different styles necessarily because your voice really holds it all together. You know what I mean? I mean, there's different tempo and there's different like levels of aggression and things like that, but it's not, it's not like you're going metal to, like jazz to, funk or anything like that. It's like, there's still like it still feels like it's cohesive in terms of like the way that you play. It's just different levels of aggression. It's still like your voice, even in some of the more aggressive songs, can be really gentle over it, just like it can be in the acoustic songs. And that's a really nice juxtaposition of those two kind of aggressive and sort of I don't know, angelic, for lack of a better word, like the meeting of those two, in a song it's really pretty cool. And so for you, it's like all of these songs are pretty personal. I mean, I can tell by reading them, and I'm guessing that they're really pretty personal songs.
Yeah.
How long have they been around for you? Like how, given that this is your first, major release, over what period of time had you written these songs?
Some of them are so old, and some of them were literally halfway written when we were recording it and I needed to finish writing it. Like, so it like really, like San Francisco, that whole second part where the drums come in, like what I was saying when I was like, the drums aren't in there, that was written in 15 minutes when Ryan was like, I think you should write something else. And I was like, got it.
Wow.
But it was like so right. Like it was so right. But there were like, I'm trying to think of like the oldest, like old news. And this is also a fun thing with the demos. I don't think Old News is a demo that we did, but Baby is an older song. And that I'm so excited for people to hear the demo, because they're going to be like, what the fuck happened here? Like, what shifted? How did you get to that? But Baby and Old News were pretty old. We're a few years old before we even started making it. And then like Is Not Real, If Shit Fuck, fresh as soon, like when were the songs that made me be like, let's make this, like, let me record some things.
Those are the ones that kind of spurred you to make, like, be like, I have to get these out. Like you had these other ones that you were proud of, obviously, because you put them out. But then the ones like It's Not Real and If Shit Fuck are the ones that you were just like, okay, these got to get out there.
Yeah, I think I have a hard time, or I had in the past, with translating, especially to a producer who I think in the past, not that I've really worked with anyone, Ryan is kind of like the first we made this album, but it's very like giving something away, especially when it was like when I was making demos that were guitar, voice, was very like if I were to send it to anyone, I would just feel immediately like their whole entire life was projected on it, and it didn't feel like mine in the right way. I love now collaboration when it's right is so vital and can still make it your own and can still keep that like individual, like I wrote this is like expressing who I am. But that I was so nervous that I couldn't explain like verbally. So then when I had If Shit Fucking Is Not Real, and I was like, oh, like I have enough that I know if I give this to Ryan or someone that I trust or that I'm working with, it's enough of a map, versus before when I think some demos are like not really a map. But it was like those two songs. And then Ryan though also is like, he says this all the time, the only thing he wants to do is make music sound like me, like when we were working. So like once we had that trust, it was like, here are these bare demos, let's try and make it be like the world that we're making and that we're living in.
To give someone like Ryan, and I want to get into how you met him, because it sounds like it's kind of an important part of the story in a way, because to give somebody these naked demos that are very vulnerable, and I know because I've done that before too, you're just like, okay, how is somebody going to react to this? This is just, I mean, and depending on the level that you develop these demos, like I've given people like something that's just me on the phone. I'm like, okay, it's really rough. I mean, it needs a lot of work, it's like, but can you hear something in it? And it's like, you almost feel like you're proud and embarrassed at the same time in a way, and you're just like, how are you going to take this? And how is it going to be reacted to? And it's like your most vulnerable moment. So how did you end up having the confidence to give it to Ryan, who sounds like, well, we'll find out how you met him in a minute, but who did you start bouncing these off of to get the confidence to start to think that these could go out there more?
I would send, here's the thing, the iPhone, which I don't know if you have an iPhone, but the iPhone speaker, like when you're doing voice memos, those sound great. I sometimes am like, I sound amazing on these, like me rambling for 20 minutes. I'm like, I like that quality sometimes versus me using like a condenser mic that's hooked up. It's like sometimes the iPhone
setting
just
it all
rocks.
up and trying to get it right. Yeah,
exactly. Like it's not.
Yeah, you're totally right.
But for confidence, so here's the thing. I think I lingered on making music because it didn't feel right. And I am so incredibly happy that I did, because I think Spit Take is such, for me, like a foundation that I do want to build on. And it feels honest and not hard work to build on it, versus if I were to try and like shift myself into like a different box of some sort, I'd be like, I can't sustain this very well. But
Interesting.
those, like, bringing it to Ryan, like there was a moment where I was like, I either have to share these or I have to bury it. Like, it's like I'm hurting my own feelings by like not being able to like do it, or like even like when listening to music, like lyrics were hard because I was like, I'm not expressing it and I'm getting sad and jealous by these artists being able to express it. Like, I literally was listening to classical music because I couldn't handle words. It was a very sad, very sad time, but character building. So like it was more like necessity. There wasn't time to be embarrassed to want to start the journey. Here's the thing. When I was in that room showing him the demos, I was like the face down, the plugging your ears. Like it is like cruel punishment, but it's also really freeing, and I got used to it. And now though that we were doing the deluxe, and then like if we like when we move into album 2, I'm like, oh, I reverted back. I'm gonna be ears plugged, like nervous in my stomach, like, oh, I don't want to share these. But it's just like it was out of necessity. But I have best friends here that Jacqueline Justice is one of them, who did all of my videos, and like besides the San Francisco one. But I would like her and Vanessa are probably like, they were the two people that I would send demos for, because it was really cute because they wanted them. They were like, you played this live and I like it. I want to listen to it. And that also was like a confidence builder. Yeah, when someone's like, oh, can I have that? Like, I want to listen to it. You're like, okay, sure, of course.
So that's interesting to me. So playing the demo. All right. So let's get into your live performances. So because you're playing, you have these demos, and and it's hard to play for a producer, but yet you're in front of a crowd playing them first.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting, right? Because they're sort of out there in a way. Like, I mean, anything that you say in It's Not Real, If Shit Fuck, for Lyle in San Francisco, whatever, youngest child, you're saying them to a room full of people. And then for you to go into a room with one person, which I think I get this, with one person playing this one thing on a speaker, and you're just like, oh my God, it's like, it's
your toes
harder.
Are curling.
Yeah. It's harder to be that one-on-one vulnerable than just like, kind of like, I don't know. It's easier in mass. It's like, it's a lot of times it's easier on stage than it is one-on-one individually. So was that kind of the feeling with some of these songs as well? Or how did you get the courage to play them live?
Yes and no. It's like playing live for me. When I first moved here, I did acoustic guitar and friends harmonizing with me. And I think that was like, when I think about it, because I was very afraid of playing with a band. I was so afraid. And that I think was like, I can't tell these people what parts to play. Like, it was just like a self-conscious imposter syndrome type of vibe. But I do know the guitar I play. Like, I know those parts and I know what the harmony should be. So I felt more confident mapping that out and telling people. But I'm the person, I still want to throw up before every show. Like, it's so nerve-wracking, but there's a difference between playing and you're getting feedback back to you. Like, you're experiencing, like, it is a group experience where it's like, if you're listening to a demo, Ryan's not in the middle of it going to be like, woo! Oh, I'm so sorry. I think that clipped. I'm so sorry. But no one's going to be like in the middle, like, hell yeah. Like you can't read it immediately. So like there is ease, but there's also a similar thing, I think, with playing live to bigger crowds versus smaller ones, or not music cities and music cities. Like, there's a huge difference between those that I think is similar to the like energy you're feeding off of versus the like, not stoic, but the like, okay, I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen and understand it versus feel it first, I think like
Yeah.
kind of that.
I do. I get that. It's, you have somebody listening and just kind of, like you said, there's no cheering. They're listening out of speakers and they're probably sitting there with their, head on their hand and they're
Literally.
not saying anything. And you're just sitting there like, okay, come on, what are you thinking? And
Yeah,
it's
you're like
one-on-one and it's, yeah.
You're like,
crazy.
I just told you 1,000 secrets. And you're just like,
and
I'm like, what are you thinking?
It must be the worst if they're like, okay, what's the next song? Like without saying anything, you're just like, oh my God,
Oh, when you have to plow through them, I like focusing on, like, I can't do, like, when we were listening to all of the tracks in a row, like for demos, I was just like, yo, I need a break. Like, after 2 songs, let me take a lap around the house or like have a beer or something. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. So how did you meet somebody that you trusted enough to start on this process with? I mean, and the only reason why I want to talk a little bit about Ryan is just because it sounds like it was an integral part of you getting this album out there, was finding someone that you could trust enough to actually sit down with and make these songs.
Oh,
I mean,
100%.
they were made, but yeah. So how did you get to that level with them?
Spit Take wouldn't sound like me, which it does without Ryan McFadden. Like 100% it wouldn't have, I don't think. Nobody champions an artist to sound like themselves and who like kind of gives up ego in the sense of like, I'm not going to push any intense ideas that I don't think build the world that I intended to build and that we do, which is, I don't think a lot of people I felt really lucky finding that. But I met him because my very best friend, Vanessa, who I would send demos to, her best friend from home, like growing up, lives here. And Ryan was her boyfriend, now husband. And we just met as friends, which I've now realized any person that I work with, like I am best friends with them. And I think there's something really special about that. But it was like, he was vetted by my friends and my friend group as like a solid dude. And then we kind of had this one-on-one. It was Vanessa who was like, I think you should just talk to him about making music. Because Ryan also was like, he can do stuff a little out there. And I feel like I was missing a person willing to take the references that I had, which aren't musical, or just be weird with it, kind of. And so it was just like that. And it literally was like, hey, you should maybe like show him some songs. Showed him songs. We were like, that's an album. Let's go.
Wow. So he was obviously a longtime producer before that. I mean, what's his story? Is he a Nashville like longtime guy?
He's been in Nashville for a while. He's a Chicago dude. He's lived here for a while. He does like Parker Millsap. He does like, I don't know. He kind of does what he wants when he wants to, but is like I think like he's across a lot of genres or whatever. But I literally think because his production style is the artist. Like I think because that is his intention and his core, he kind of bops around. Because it's like, he was working on like Parker's album, Parker Millsap, which is so different from my music. Like we were working on it at the same time. And I'm like, that just shows his like dedication, to like each artist and just his intention of being like, how do we make this you? Really cool.
I feel like that's one of the things that the great producers are able to do. It's not about the style necessarily. It is about the artist. It's about getting the best out of that artist, getting the best out of that, that song, out of that session, out of those musicians. And I feel like that's really the job of the producer. It's not to be, it's not to put their stamp on it necessarily. I mean, even like Rick Rubin, you think about like one of the most accomplished producers. He's like Beastie Boys. He's done like rock. He does everything. It's not about him. He does feel like he becomes part of the band. I know, like, so he becomes part of that, like that group, but it's not about him. I don't think. Maybe it's changing for him as he gets older and more like recognition, but
I think they have a really good read. Like I think it's the most important, and that's what I'm looking for in people, because I think it's really hard. I've spent a lot of time and a lot of waiting to figure out like who I was to release music before I did, and to have someone who was on that journey with me, who was very supportive and like didn't try and take away from anything, was like,
right.
I think that's very important in someone that you're working with for things that are like really personal.
Yeah. Speaking of really personal, let's talk about your growing up a little bit. I want to know how you got into music, how, what your life was like, what it was like for little Meg growing up, like learning an instrument, learning, having those experiences of that crafted this album. I mean, learning how to drive by being taught by your father, like you say in Youngest Child and Saturday Morning, which is, probably the saddest song on the record, or, maybe to me, just reading it. Just how was your childhood? You grew up outside of Boston. What got you into music and stuff like that? What's your...
I love it. It's like therapy. Let's go. How was my childhood?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. I'm not licensed, so you can't sue me. Let's go.
What's so funny, my sister's actually, Hayden, who plays drums with me, he's my boyfriend, but he's picking up my sister. So I have a little bit of New England coming, which is awesome.
Oh, that's funny.
I grew up in a small town, like an hour outside of Boston, very super small, a lot of space, a lot of like fields and stuff like that. But music was always, it's so corny, but like, who cares? It's just like, it was the first thing I knew I could do. And then it never went away. So like, I think the first time like music developed with me is like my ear. Like it's like harmonizing with the radio, or like hearing like my mom and my dad play music around the house. And like I just knew, like I really liked being really, really little, trying to imitate other artists' voice. Like I wanted to like just learn like that. Like, or it wasn't even learning. I just was doing it because it was fun. But I always had a good ear, and I only know that because, well, like one, I took guitar lessons for 2 weeks. I got scared by the teachers. Like, I don't know why. I think I was shy. Like, I just was shy, kind of. But I know my ear, I would play flute. I did years of flute. I like playing the flute. Shout out the flute. But my teacher was like, I would do lessons. I was lucky enough to do like private lessons. And the teacher, Mr. Mamayak, shout out Mr. Mamayak, would like tell my parents, be like, she's really good. She doesn't practice. And the only reason why she can play these songs is because she has a good ear. So like, it wasn't that like I knew I was good at something, but it did give me confidence. I was like, oh, like this makes sense to me. But it was truly like the one thing I knew I was always going to do. And I spent a lot of years convincing myself that I wasn't going to do it growing up, like, especially in a small town where like no one went to school for music. Like we had a few kids like intense with it, but like it just never seemed possible. But it was the only thing that got me through like middle school, high school, all of that.
When did you start writing? I mean, because there's a big difference between, playing the flute in front of Mr. Whatever his name was, and and then being, this. I mean, so you have to write, you have to put yourself out there. So when did you start being able to do that? Because you probably weren't writing, songs on flute.
I remember the first song. I remember writing songs really, really little, and it being like song for trees. And I would do it wouldn't be chords. It would be, because I played flute. I would notate it note for note, which is, I don't know how to fucking do that really. I went to music school. I could, but that was how I was doing. That's how I was writing. I remember I wrote a song after my hamster died, when about Zelda, Ocarina of Time, that game. But I remember writing a song about my hamster dying when a tree, I forget what the character was, but like a character died in that, and I just was like overcome with grief of like my hamster dying and this like tree dying in Zelda.
Yeah.
That like I wrote about, like, I was kind of always writing songs now that I'm like thinking about it. And I would always do like writing songs. I think I would sometimes even like write new verses to like other songs, I think, when I was like learning them. And then that
cool.
kind of like not helped, but it was just like a segue to kind of find my own voice and how I wrote and stuff.
Were you learning a lot of, so when did guitar come back into the picture? Because I know that you're, well, and did you go to music school for guitar or voice? I'm not sure which you went for.
I went to school for voice. I started doing guitar. So I was like interested in guitar when I was little. Got scared, like probably like, I don't know, like 8 or not, like something like that. Went to 2 lessons, called it. When I got into, and then I played piano by ear. Like I can play really good in the key of C. Like you know, like
no black keys.
like I can hit like that B flat minors, whatever, but like very within a small amount of things. But I have every chord. I have 1, 2 minor, like, you know, like I had everything.
Yeah.
So I was big on piano. And then it was in high school, I found that guitar that I had when I was like 9 years old, whatever. I just super glued the like body of it was like up. I had to press it down and super glue it. It had 3 strings. It had the 2 low ones, and then I think the high E. So it's not like a ukulele, but it was like power chords. Yeah. It worked. Yeah. And so I started writing on that. And then my senior year was when I had the moment of like, we have to choose college, and like, I'm not a engineer. Like, I'm like, I can't. So I did like a guitar workshop in my high school. That was like level 1. And they had guitars with 6 strings on it instead of 3. And so I kind of like, it was then. And then I was just like asking my teacher how to like play a Bob Dylan song, or how to play like I just was like, teach me. So yeah, that was like when guitar came in. And then I'm like trying to think, I'm like, did I get a guitar going to college? Like, I don't know when I got my own one though, to be honest. That's weird. I feel like I should.
Yeah. Most people I feel like do remember that first guitar, because it's usually a piece of garbage. I mean, you do remember the one you got when you were 9.
I remember that one. I don't remember the one like that I started on. Really? Interesting.
Was it electric? Do you know if it was electric or acoustic?
Acoustic. I got electric and also I feel like this also is like cliche or whatever. Like getting an electric changes so much in the best way. Like it totally shifted my writing in a way that felt more like me. But I do think there's something like that's still a part of me that like I love delicate finger picking acoustic guitar that sounds low and not bright, but like yeah. And so I did that all through college. Didn't play electric all through college. It was like maybe 3 years into moving here or something. Cause even like, it was like a few years into moving here that I borrowed my friend's electric guitar and was like, oh, and then I bought an electric guitar, and the rest is history.
Yeah. So, you know, let's talk a little more about your childhood. So was it a good, I mean, so when you're growing up, is it like a kind of a happy type of thing? Like because I'm just trying to get like, you know, where some of these songs come from and know a little bit more about you, you know, it's like, was it a good middle, like, I know for girls it's different than for boys, but, you know, I know my daughter had, you know, it's much different for my daughter going through these ages than it is for my sons. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just kind of wondering, like, was this like was this sort of a retreat back into this creativity that, you know, because, you know, maybe you were one of the cool kids, maybe you weren't one of the cool kids, but like, did something drive you to be creative?
It was the only, like, my childhood was incredibly, like, I got to do private lessons for flute. Like, that not a lot of people get to, like, I felt I grew up very lucky. But there's not, like, it's like, it wasn't, like, it's, I don't know, it's hard to complain or be like, it was tough. It's like, there's for sure traumatic moments that linger with you because it's also like those things like taste more like it feels heavier versus the like, oh, the 5 years that were amazing, but this one moment, like that's what sticks with me. But it was like, it wasn't easy, but I felt, yeah, it was really hard, but I felt comfortable in some way. And
Right.
specifically
You were
though, I
supported in
think,
a way.
yeah, exactly. And music though, I would say I didn't feel understood really at all. I had one best friend and then like some other like friends that I really loved, but like I had one person who knew me. I was floating. I was not cool. I was not cool. I was nowhere. I was like, it just was like, I felt no connection with anyone and really lonely kind of, but like music was the thing for me that I did in my room by myself.
Right.
Nobody knew that I did it until like the last year and that of like high school. And that's the only way I think I digested anything growing up since like middle school probably was that very, and I'm like, to be honest, I'm happy not that I didn't showcase it, but like it was mine and that felt really special of like, this is me in my room. And that's why I like I always write in my room. Like I'm not writing anywhere else except for the floor of my room, really.
Well, I mean, it was something that it sounds like it was something that you did for yourself. It was something that you had like that at first you kept from everybody else because it was maybe a way for you to process. And like you said, it wasn't like a terribly, like you had opportunities, you had, it sounds like a good childhood, like your parents were supportive of you. But there's still things that every, young boy or girl has to process. And you did it in your room on the floor with and in private. And it was kind of just became this big part of you because you realized you had this talent in it at some point.
Oh yeah. And it is like, there were some things that just nobody, like my school was a very like white school. And like, I'm half my mother's Korean and I was raised, like there's a difference between being raised by an immigrant. Yeah. Like an immigrant, like it's a lot different. And I had no one to talk to about that. And that was really, that was also weird because it was like, I went to Korean school when I was younger because my mom was teaching it. And my sister looks a lot more Korean than I do, like more traditional like features, I guess. And so I was like made fun of and like, so I wasn't white enough for people and I wasn't Korean enough for people. And I just was like in like it truly, and it really like, that was a huge, like, I think that is a huge component for a lot of people of the, like, I don't fit in anywhere. I'm going to chameleon. And that's going to become an incredible strength. But also when it's time to find out who you are, it's going to be hard. Like it's going to be really difficult to try and find roots of stuff.
See, that's something that like so many people can't understand, obviously myself included. I mean, it's like that sense of struggling to like where you fit. I mean, I don't understand that because it's just not part of my, it never happened to me. So for you, when were you aware of that like struggle to fit in and that maybe race had something to do with it, or maybe like not being white enough, like you said, or not Korean enough?
I like didn't notice it. So I also think it's something that a lot of women go through, the chameleon of the like trying to find out where they belong and what's the safest way to fit in and what's like, so I think there's a lot of people, I think there's a lot of relation with it. For that, it was like when I didn't notice too much until it was kind of like, I maybe got bullied like twice, like two individual moments that I didn't even care about when I was little about it. And that's when I was like, oh, that's weird. Didn't know that. So it was probably like, maybe, it was like the older you get when kids are trying to figure stuff out and they get mean sometimes. So I think it was kind of, it was definitely then, but I think it's lingered as I've gotten more like confident and love that side of me. Like the older I get, I just want to know more. And I think it's really incredible listening to my mom, but like it's stuck with me of being like, I feel more of a pressure being like a woman in this industry and in the sense of like needing to chameleon or try and figure out who you are because it's not necessarily rewarded. Like being super individual, it totally can be. And those are like the careers that are like, you're like the dream careers where you're like, Bjork built that on Bjork, but it's not rewarded all the time. And it's
Yeah.
sometimes what can be rewarded is being a really good mirror or being a really good impression of something. And that's hard to navigate, I think. Whether or not like, and I like my intentions, like it's still hard. Like even if your intention is to totally be yourself, like that shit gets hard. Like it gets really tricky.
It seems to me though, like when I watch your videos and things like that, like you're not someone that reflects what everybody wants to see back. You have some of the, I mean, maybe, you know, I almost think of like Lady Gaga when I think of something like this, right? Like she would wear like the meat suit, and I'm not comparing you to Lady Gaga, but you know, I mean, but Lady Gaga is just like, she is like this, you know, her music's not necessarily for me, but she's amazingly talented, like just this voice and just like, so I don't know for her if she was just able to make it in spite of like being, you know, a little out there, because she wasn't reflecting everyone else. I don't think that's what she did. And I, you know, and I kind of don't see you reflecting that. That's not the impression that I get from you. And I'm like, this is just a reflection of, you know, society. This is why she'll make it. I see you as being very individualistic, and that's kind of like more.
Well, that was a huge, because I think like growing up in general, like very people pleaser, like I just wanted to be liked because that's a safe environment. Is if people like you, they're not gonna like it just is, and a lot of people crave that. So it was honestly, it was Ryan, and it just kind of was like things in my life where it was like I really liked the idea. I kind of twisted the idea of people not liking things and being like, but then it now I'm like, oh, if people don't like it, you're at least saying something enough that people don't like it. When before I was like, when I was playing live, when I first moved here, acoustic guitar, a few harmonies, no one can hate that because it's not, because I wasn't saying anything. And not that like lyrically I was, but like just the confidence and the emotion even that I was putting into it. It was really safe for me. And I just wanted to like, I'm not the, like, that's a side of me, but that didn't feel so authentic to be able to like make music strictly like that.
When did you first play out live?
So the thing is like, the first time I played out live was like in my high school, my senior year. I wonder what I did like play, like we're talking me, not like singing out loud, right?
I was thinking you like actually playing in front of a crowd, and I guess you can determine it however, whatever that question means to you, it means to you. It's not like,
okay.
That's not for me to say.
All right, I'm gonna go with my own personal music because I'm like, I did theater. Okay. I did a weird thing in high school, but honestly, the first song, I'm almost positive. Yeah, the first time that I played my music live was in college, maybe my sophomore year, which seems very hard if you go to music school to not play your music live on a stage at all. I don't know how I did it, but like, I just was I don't know, but it literally was then. And it was because my teacher made me. She was like, wow, this song is so good. I want you to be a part of this showcase and you're going to do it. And I was like, okay. But yeah, it was like what song was it? I think.
Was it one of these songs on this?
No, it's I forget what it's called, but I could probably sing. Wait, do you know when you're like, if you give me a guitar, I'll for sure be able to play it. But right now.
Right. Yeah. That's still pretty cool. I mean, so she saw something in that song and she wanted you to play live. So I guess that was an experience of like, I don't know. I never went to guitar like for college for music or anything like that. And in fact, I was completely self-taught, and I strictly stayed away from theory because my warped brain thought like, if I know too much, I'm going to not be as creative because I'm going to be stuck in these boxes. So I want to know nothing so I can discover everything, which was, I mean, now I think it's stupid. But at the time,
I so relate to that though. Like I super relate to that. Like really? Even I also relate to the like slightly growing out of it, but like the way I play guitar, I like Luke who plays guitar with us, and like when we have another player, because we did the Blonde Shell tour trio, we've toured trio kind of exclusively. But when Luke comes in, and Luke is a fantastic player in the sense of he has so much skill, but he also just uses it as a toolbox and knows what to do and not completely flourish everything. So he's very tasty. And he once tried to explain how someone was going to come in and play guitar for me for like a second so I can hold a microphone. I've like essentially never done that before because I'm always playing. Yeah. And him explaining how I played, he's like, so you have to go against all of your instincts and she plays really wrong. And like, that was how he had to explain it. But I love the way that I play guitar. I adore it. And I think it informs like my writing a lot. So I am an advocate of the, like, I don't think you should close your eyes to things, but I don't think you need to listen or absorb everything in order to do what you want to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a great point because I also feel like I developed a style, like something that was me, in terms of the way that I would play. And even like the guys that I would play with would be like, they'd bring me a song and then it would completely change because I would play it like completely differently. I'd hear it differently, which is cool. But then at a point, I guess, I start to feel like, well, how many times can I play these chords? I mean, how many times, because I'd go back and listen to a song and it's like, okay, well, this one starts in, whatever, E minor again. I mean, okay, you need some variety here. And that gets, I guess it's more the feeling of being stuck. And then you're like, well, maybe if I knew more, I wouldn't be as stuck. And so, but I think being stuck is just something that happens to every creative person.
Yeah, I do think there's different ways because I've for sure felt that. And it was the like really hard to teach an old dog new tricks was like where I was at, like being like, okay, but there's certain things though that will get me, like I'll learn a new, like I'll play around on the guitar and you find something and I'm like, oh, okay, that's my color palette for today.
Yeah.
Or like getting an electric guitar. I was like, oh, that's a huge shift for me. So there's like ways to, like get out of being stuck without having to be like, let me learn what the major, minor, diminished. Which here's the thing: if I knew theory and I was well versed in it, I would be saying that shit all the time. Like, shout out to anyone who could I love people whose brains work that way. It's never going to happen. It's not going to happen. And that's fine.
For me either. And I've started to look at like, I mean, so there's a guy, Guthrie Govan, I think, or Govan Guthrie. I forget which name comes first. I don't know if you know this guy. He's like a virtuoso. He'll be sitting there and he'll go, he's this crazy looking English guy with like, his hair, and he'll say, oh, you could play it in the minor Lydian scale and go, or you can play it in the and you're just like, Jesus, like, how do you it just seems impossible to me. And you know that you'll never get there. I don't even want to get there, really. It's not what I want to play. But you respect it so much that this guy put in the time into this craft and can do this stuff. You're just like, oh my God, how does somebody do this?
And I am it's like they did that because they're I'm just a very I think they liked to learn that. I just wasn't interested in knowing. And there's some people so interested in the why does it sound like that? Like, what are they playing over this weird thing? And there's that sense of curiosity. And I just didn't have that really. It was very hard in school. I was not the best student when it came to that.
I find that with a lot of musicians. It's not where they want to be. They don't want to be sitting there learning, I mean, a lot of musicians tend to be good at math maybe, but it's not where you want to put your energy. It's not like a lot of us have, ADD or whatever.
There was the only thing that I do kind of regret is I feel like I get counterpoint now. And I didn't get it in college, and I was like, damn, I wish I still can. It's we're constantly learning. But I'm oh, counterpoint just walked in for me about a few years ago, and I was like, I would have done so put me back in, coach. I would have done so good.
If only I could go back to high school with what I know now,
It's literally, I just think I got into classical. It was just being out for me mature enough because I was like, I can't listen to anything that's not saying something. Then I was like, oh, classical music literally screams things at you without words. And it was when I was like, exactly. Oh, I get it now. I understand what's going on.
That's interesting. I learned that through ballet, through watching my daughter do ballet and having it explained to me and just being like, oh my God, now I see why people want to sit there. Before it was just
It's so cool because it is also you can build a huge thing that Ryan and I like to do is I really like the backing track. I really like that, making an atmosphere, not a track or a song where it's we're safe. We are very much intentionally really thinking about how this sounds like this phrase, and not like rhythmically, like just like what it makes you emotionally feel. And then you hear it and you can get context, but it's like a lot of the information emotionally, and like there's just so much you can do without words, you know? And I think that's super
totally
fun. Like I like doing that in music a lot.
So let's talk about because I like your sound, your electric guitar sound in particular. And I noticed that you have this fuzz like thing going, which I think is super cool. So I want to talk a little bit about your gear. I don't talk about gear a whole lot, but I like this sound. So you have this, like, I don't know if it's a Mustang or a Jaguar, right? With like a million different like button thingies on there. Like
she's a Jag. And I truly do not think, I definitely will. I'm sure I will. Like I am like a stan. I had a Jag that I'm like, she's too precious to me to want to tour with her. So I got another Jag because I'm just a stan for a Jaguar for sure. But the issue is they go out of tune a lot because you're moving stuff. And I'm like, that's what I'm not the best at, but it's so worth the feel of it and the tone that guitar gets versus like a Tele or like a Jazzmaster or something like that.
It's interesting. So when I first started playing, it was a Gibson Les Paul and it was heavier. And then I gradually grew into and now I pretty much play Teles. And so it's like, I kind of just changed, but no matter what, like you with the Tele, you're still going to sound like Meg, you're still going to sound like you. It's just like, it's not what you want to do. And so that's the cool thing about, I think, your style is I feel like no matter what, you're going to sound like you could probably play It's Not Real on like, come play on my guitar and you're going to sound like you, and nobody's going to be like, oh my God, that's completely different from the record, because it's just the style. Like you're able to convey that through your instrument, I think, regardless of the sound, which I mean, I believe that you are. I mean, it seems to me that you would be. Yeah.
That's the like, hell yeah. Like proud of myself in the sense where I'm like, okay, yeah, like I am showing myself. And I like, that's just the best compliment when you're like, yeah, you sound like you. You'll probably sound like you, even if things shift a little bit, which is like,
right. So what to get that, so what is that fuzz pedal? Because I do like that sound. Like this sound. What is that pedal?
I am so excited and so happy that you asked. My fuzz is the Fender Hello Kitty fuzz pedal that Jashawn, who plays bass with me, got me. Yes. And so I've gotten so many compliments from like, very lovely, very sweet, but like the epitome of like guitar bro who's like, what gear? And they're like, I get like the slight backhanded when they're like, it sounds so shitty in a great way. And I'm like, absolutely. That was the goal. That's the goal.
That's the greatest crappy compliment ever. Right.
Exactly. And then they'll ask me, they're like, what pedal do you use? And I'm like, the Hello Kitty Fender fuzz pedal.
That's so
great. Thank you. Like, it's just hilarious.
Absolutely killer.
Yeah, like it's my revenge, I think, even though, again, these boys have been very sweet, but it's my revenge of like going into a Guitar Center and being like mansplained, like, oh do you need help with that? And you're like, no, I'm getting picks, dude. Like, I'm fine. I promise. I know. Like, that's, I feel like my revenge. Is where I get to be like, oh yeah, it's this Hello Kitty fuzz pedal that I know you're afraid to put on your board. I know
that is so awesome. I have the best, I mean, I think it's a great mansplaining story where I did it. I mansplained to Jewel before she was Jewel.
Damn.
I went up to her, like, so I was with a girl, trying to impress her. And this is like when I was, full. I was like, because she's tuning by ear. And I'm like, I just walked up to her. I was like, you really should get a tuner. And I mean, I didn't even think about what an asshole I was until much, much later. But oh my God, if I could ever, she probably doesn't remember it at all. But now, like looking back, what an asshole to go up and explain to this woman that's, going to go on to do these great things and sounded great then. It's not like she was, but like, what the hell did she need me for? Like, who was I? I was nobody.
So
like, what am I going to tell her? It's just so crazy that people think that you need this advice. So
we're like self-reflection, but to be honest, it's like you get a lot of that. You do get the mansplaining, but you do get a lot of that with like, not like level, but like experience, like people who think a lot more experience equates to like being above someone. Like you get that kind of too, where it's either like, yeah, like a guy that's been on tour for like 3 months and really knows how to do it. And I'm like, 2 weeks, and they're like just explaining everything. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's some stuff that I love learning, and it just depends on the medium of how I'm receiving the information
Totally.
or how I'm being told it.
How you're being told it probably is a big part of it too. It's like, okay, sit down and listen, because I'm going to tell you what you need to know versus, this is what I do. If you like it, just take it. It's like, let's have a conversation about it as opposed to let me explain to you how to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's
for sure.
That's a huge thing. And, I learned that as I got older. But that story will always stick with me. Like that mansplaining. Like,
the thing. When you get chills.
Yeah.
When you get chills in the middle of oh God, no, I have like 30,000 of those moments.
Totally. I'm just like, how could I do that? Like I said, she'll never remember it, but it sticks with me. So let's talk a little bit about what's next for you, because we are coming up onto your hour, and I have one more thing that I want to get to after this, but I do want to hear about what's next, because I did hear this song that I loved about, and I think you said, is it called New England? What's the name of that new song where you talk about
okay. It's a working title. I've made a demo for it, and that's it. I haven't even Ryan and I haven't. We kind of we played, but it wasn't real. But that working title, that song was called in my voice memo, "No Dogs Piss on a New England Lawn."
That's a good title.
Here's the thing: I think it's an awesome title, and I love that title. So
yeah, that's a great title. But what's funny is I know you talk about how green the lawns are in New England, and it's totally true. I grew up in Rhode Island, by the way, so I grew up probably not that far from you. So I totally get what you mean. But what I got from that song, and it's based on a conversation I had with Dylan LeBlanc, which was the first episode of this podcast, where he was talking about Northerners coming down from he was from Muscle Shoals, but he spent a lot of time in Nashville and Louisiana, and all of a sudden they have a Southern accent, and they're like, oh man, oh yeah, man, and they got their truck jacked up. And he's like, what the fuck? You're from Boston,
literally.
And your song is like totally imposter. We talk about imposter syndrome. There it is, right there. You got your Confederate flag, and you jack up your truck, and you think you're chewing tobacco and spitting like you're a farmer, or you're from the South. Yeah,
and you have you live in a McMansion, and your parents were also born and raised New England. It's this really interesting concept, though. I think I'm really intrigued by that. It kind of feels like cosplaying a little bit. And here's the thing. I'm I've been here for a while, but I'm a New England girl, and you'll catch me on the lake with a Miller Lite and a cowboy hat with my cowboy boots being I'll listen to country music today, for sure. And it pops out, but I find it interesting when it was in the environment that's not used to being in, and then being let's go. It was just weird to me. Very weird.
Yeah. No, I can totally see that. And it's for me, it's a little off-putting to see. Well, I mean, it's always off-putting to see a Confederate flag, but when I see something in an area where you're just what are you doing? You're driving this up to, like you said, your McMansion, and you're parking it in your 4-car garage, but it's this jacked up, old truck, and it's just what are you doing? It's a little. It is funny.
It's a weird identity crisis that I'm not exactly sure what they're relating. And I also, it's I literally don't know what they're relating to. But it felt like a weird, identity crisis / yeah. I just didn't see how anything connected. But it happens a lot. But it was a lot of. It wasn't just one kid in my school. It was in general. But there's also total there's totally parallels between that small rural New England town, whether it's I don't know, there are parallels for sure, and I've learned that growing up, or living here for a while. But growing up, I was what very confused.
Yeah, totally. No, I get it. All right, so there's one thing that I just started doing, which I kind of it was from what my friend Jeff told me that. He's listening. He's you should do this. You should have a set of questions that you ask everybody to see what their answers are. I'm
hell yeah.
So I did it with one episode.
You're it's the polygraph. The polygraph baseline. Well, you're all right, this is the artist baseline for all of these artists.
Yeah, exactly. This is where we're going to be able to compare you directly, quantitatively, to see like Spotify does, to see how, yeah, exactly. So I got to get something quantitative here to be able to, measure. All right. First question. These are super simple. Like, so you can just do like a.
I'm going to
right.
blank. Okay.
Yeah, I know. This is what's hard because you don't have the advantage of knowing what they are, like, because I haven't even released an episode with these on it yet. So even if you did listen to an episode, you wouldn't know. So tell me about a band or musician that you think we should watch out for. Someone who's underrated, underknown, what have you.
Okay, I think, and this is just because they're amazing, but Daffo is a band that we saw. So we did a run with Bombshell, which was amazing, but we went to the show in Nashville to just like see everyone, and that show's incredible. And the opener for that, Daffo, who was also like on the road with Annie DeRusso, who's like the sweetest, babiest girl, but I saw their opening set for Bombshell, and I was like, this is like, it blew me away. It was so fucking awesome.
That's
so
awesome.
I think Daffo.
Very cool. Good answer.
Or Baby Wave. Baby Wave in Nashville is also some of my favorite.
Only one. Hey, only one.
I'm sorry.
You're cheating. No, I'm just kidding.
I get pulled away.
No,
Okay,
you can't have half credit. You don't get like half credit for like, which way answer is better. You pick one answer.
You're right. No. I just love so much, but Daffo's on my mind.
Awesome. Disaster performance. Anything that's happened on stage that's just been like complete chaos or disaster or embarrassing that you want to take back.
God. Okay. Yes. I was thinking, I was like, okay, what happened on our tours? A lot. Like so much. I fuck up every night. I love it though.
Yeah.
The worst thing, and it's so funny, it was when I was playing solo, and I had a lot of friends there, and there was this dude who was kind of a dick, and I don't know, massive, I don't like them. But that's so rude. Whatever. They like bullied my friend into being like, go, get on stage and tune that guitar. Like, tune her guitar for her. And he was like, I've never met you before. I guess I'm going. You're like, was I there? No, but he tuned. I had an old hollow body harmony, which notoriously went out of tune all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he was tuning it for me, but it was so out of tune that he thought I was in like a drop tuning or like an open tuning.
Oh my God.
And so he did that, and he was like, guitar's tuned, you're awesome. And I get on stage and I'm like, da, 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 da. Like, I'm like, oh no. And I shit you not, I tuned silently on stage minimum 3 minutes. Minimum 3 minutes of silence of me being like, dong, dong, with like a snark tuner or something, just being like, I'm so embarrassed. But here's the thing. It never is like post. I'm like, that was fucking horrible. When you're in the moment, you're just like, don't die. Just get it done. Don't die. Yeah. So like, it's not horrible until after. And then you're like, but yeah, that was hilarious and
you
horrible.
You should get a tuner. Yeah, you should get a tuner. That's what you should do.
Oh, definitely. I'm like, I now have my I'm so blind. I have my like Ernie ball, like it's an iPad because I can't see.
Yeah.
Like when I look down.
That's awesome. All right. Last question for you in this category.
Love.
What is something that you now would tell yourself when you're starting out? Like, what piece of advice would you give younger Meg?
Ooh, lingering is very okay. It doesn't get less. It's always scary, and it will never get less scary, but it gets a lot easier and it gets a lot more worth it. And like, so yeah, like I'll never get rid of that fear, but it becomes a lot easier to plow through and more worth it each time. Like I play live, I just get proven time and time again how much I love it and how much I want to keep doing it.
Holy crap, you answered that quickly. That was like, it's like I fed you that question. That was awesome. Like, I can't believe, like, I thought that.
Sometimes it clicks. Sometimes things click.
I thought that one was going to be like, everyone's like, oh my God, I don't know. Like, I thought like that was awesome. That was great.
Hell yeah.
So last question before I let you go, Meg. What's next for you? Like, what are you planning? Any tours coming up? What's going on?
We just ended tour with Bombshell and Liz Cooper, which was amazing. We have more of the deluxe coming out, like we cut another song that we're releasing called Run, and we have demos. And then it's like gonna be, I'm so excited. I miss recording things. So I think it's like gonna be I'm just antsy. I just want to do an album too. I'm so excited for these songs though, because I like haven't released anything in a while, like before Sports Car. So it was like, it was scary again. But now I'm like, okay, let's go. I want that next album. I'm like so stoked for it. So I think
so great. That's awesome, Meg. Well, thank you so much for spending so much time with me today. I really appreciate it. It was awesome to talk to you.
It was so fun. I think this was a nice ass conversation that was hilarious and cool.
Thanks, Meg.
I drive like my father. I should, 'cause he taught me, but just with a little more nerves. You see, I crashed my car in the middle of high school and never recovered from the swerve. And I was the last thing my mother ever had, and the last thing they would have together. So put it on the youngest child, born right after December.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Meg Elsier on The Underknown. We are listening to her song Youngest Child off of her album Spit Take. We covered a lot of ground, just like I told you we would in the intro. We talked about topics that had to do with music, that didn't have to do with music, but I hope you enjoyed the conversation. If there's an artist that you think should be featured on the program, please do drop me a DM in Instagram or an email. It's all on my Instagram site, which is @Underknown Podcast. And until next time, thanks for listening. I'm Jan Perillo.
I met a man with a life of his own, with a dog, a cigar, and religion, who still loves the youngest child and all the decisions that made him mad, that made him down. Any chance he gave her to make it I drive like my father. I should, 'cause he taught me. But some things I'll never quite learn, like how to open wine right, or change my oil, or stop being a little